Okay, I thought I'd do a series of talks on atheism, why I'm an atheist. I am an atheist, born and raised. I don't have any religious background at all. My parents were atheists. And however, I would say that I'm very unimpressed by what's known as the new atheism of people like Sam Harris and Christopher Hitchens, Richard Dawkins, who this has something of a vogue at the moment. These people who produce bestsellers. But I'm not an atheist of their stripe, and I want to say why. And I think the simplest way to put it is that I think of these people as believers in the cult of reason. That is, they regard their own atheism as the product of, as the only reasonable result. And I think that's wrong. In fact, I think that reason is radically inadequate to establish either atheism or theism. One way to see this is that atheism and theism, let's say theism is the hypothesis that an omnipotent and omniscient God exists and is the creator of the universe, and atheism is the denial of that claim. With regard to hypotheses like that, which are about the way the universe is ordered, they're cosmological hypotheses, every single observation, every true claim is relevant to such a hypothesis, and all true claims put together that we have access to, or that we could possibly know, are radically inadequate to establish such a claim. Right? I mean, so that to believe it or to deny it is to believe in radical excess to the available evidence. Reason will not get you atheism, in my view. Now let me try to establish that a little more carefully. So let's describe reason roughly as, first of all, the canons of deductive logic, Aristotle's syllogisms, quantification theory, and so on, as well as probability theory, inductive logic, and scientific method, whatever that is exactly. Take maybe Popper's account or whatever your favorite account is. And let's take faith to be belief in excess to evidence, radical excess to evidence, or belief even that runs against evidence, perhaps in some cases. Now, what I describe these both as as epistemological strategies. That is, they're strategies for generating beliefs. And as strategies for generating beliefs, they're at a standoff. And here's why. First of all, take someone who believes and admits that their belief is irrational. Someone like Kierkegaard, for instance. In fact, he holds that it's better to believe irrationally than rationally. All right, now it seems like a perverse position, but it's certainly not a position to which reason has any reply. All right, with any response on behalf of reason to a position like that is question begging. So, if Kierkegaard says, look, my faith is a leap into the darkness, I will believe. And in fact, I love Christianity precisely because it's a completely irrational or paradoxical, even paradoxical position. Now, on what basis can reason respond to that? None, without begging the question. I mean, it can continue to assert that this belief is irrational, but that's been admitted. Right? Reason can perhaps demonstrate the irrationality of the belief, but it can't demonstrate that it's wrong to believe irrationally. That's a presupposition of the orientation that gives rise to reason as an exclusive epistemological strategy. Another way to see that this opposition breaks down, or that there's no deciding between the alternatives, is that reason itself rests on a variety of faith. So let's take the principle of non-contradiction. And if some claim or proposition is true, it's not also false. Now that seems rational, that's good. But in general, reason is not going to be able to establish that without presupposing it. Now, it could be that logic, for example, could rest on other axioms from which the principle of non-contradiction would follow. But it's got to rest on some axioms. And it can't establish its own axioms, because any argument to the effect that the principle of non-contradiction is true, of course, presupposes the principle of non-contradiction. Reason is not self-justifying. It rests on an epistemological choice, right? And that choice gives you a certain kind of universe. That is, reason as the privileged epistemological strategy rests on itself, on an inchoate sense of what sort of place the universe is. It's a place that is subject, that is appropriate to rational analysis. Right? Well, that's an emotional commitment to a certain kind of world. It's not itself a proposition that emerges from reason, because reason rests on it. And the place of reason as an epistemological strategy rests on it. So the first thing I'd say here is that there's no adjudicating the contest between faith and reason, and that reason itself rests on a certain variety of faith, as opposed to these figures I'm talking about, the new atheists, who I think have a rather naive faith in reason. All right, more next.